Candidate and her sidekick tonight.
The Dan York State of Mind program is brought to you in part by Lookout Rhode Island and Takeo Comfort Solutions.
I gotta tell you, I went to Chick-fil-A for the first time like a couple of weeks ago. But right now I'm craving a sandwich. Just absolutely craving a sandwich. You'll find out why in just a minute. Great to have you aboard. Thanks very much. Patricia Morgan, Minority Leader, State Representative, and Gubernatorial candidate on the Republican side, is my guest here this evening. We'll get to Patricia and her sidekick, at least for a segment, in just a second. You know what? There's so much going on here, and kind of the jolt of the Paw Sox decision to move, and the 195 traffic, and a whole bunch of things that grab our attention, can divert our attention from something that's happening in Washington, which is very, very, very important. This headline, of course, this was Washington and New York, actually Virginia and New York in federal courts. Manafort to the left and Michael Cohen to the right. Manafort's down on 8 counts, and I'm guessing the prosecution, the special counsel, will not pursue the other 10. Not necessary, especially with another trial coming up for Manafort. So I'm guessing he'll be wheeling and dealing sooner than later. Michael Cohen looks like he is wheeling and dealing. He doesn't have a cooperation agreement yet, and even without it, more or less informally indicted the president himself on the campaign finance stuff. This is real. This is real. It's going to be really interesting to see where Republicans get off the exit ramp, because notwithstanding the question of whether a president can be indicted, this is the kind of stuff that in normal times, if we ever had any, would be impeachable. No doubt. Stay tuned for that, right? Okay, let's come home. So, you know the Worcester story, right? Worcester puts up a boatload of dough, and in coordination with the state, the Commonwealth, steal our Paw Sox from us. Interestingly enough, they already have a ball club up there, a collegiate ball club, which generates some 2,500 fans nightly. And the owner of that club was at the Worcester City Hall last night, somewhat offended and heartbroken.
I'm here because there's something that troubles me. And as I look around this chamber, there's just too many faces of people who I haven't seen at the ballpark in the last year or the last 2 years, some even in the last 3 years. And Worcester Bravehearts aren't going to get in the way of progress in this city. But when the discussion of progress in this city involves the discussion of baseball, we would expect to have a seat at that table. My question to this body: what else can we do?
All right, that's Dave Peterson, I believe. He is the general manager, and I think he's got a piece of the Bravehearts. A very successful franchise up there. It's going to be really interesting to see whether they fold, relocate, or whether they can live side by side. I mean, there's only so many baseball nights that will go around. I'm not saying that the Worcester deal is flimsy. I'm just saying that all the strings are not completely attached yet in Worcester. In the meantime, at home today, the Paw Sox Irish Wake happened at Slater Mill. I've never seen anything like this. Really, I've never seen anything like this. The mayor, doing what he can to try to keep his city breathing, gave a, hey, listen, we're still terrific speech, and it was really appropriate. The governor was there, and I tweeted out that while Don Grebian asked for a round of applause for Gina Raimondo for her leadership on this, I think he had his toes and fingers crossed. Anyway, I've wondered about the leadership question, right? And so I wanted to get something confirmed. And that is, you know, were all of the players who make these decisions ever in the same room to try to get this thing done? I asked the mayor that question. Confirm one more time how many times the governor, the Senate president, the House Speaker, the mayor and the Paw Sox city officials got together in one room to try to bang this deal out?
That clearly is a difference. We did it, we chose to do it in different reasons. We were never in the same room at the same time. That's fair, absolutely.
And notwithstanding the boatload of dough that Worcester put on the table, the Senate deal would have been accepted by the Paw Sox, yes or no?
To the best of my knowledge, yes.
Right. You understand what I'm asking? Was the governor, or were the governor, the Senate president, the House Speaker, the mayor, and the Paw Sox officials all ever in the same conference table? It's all right, guys, let's work this thing out. Never once, according to the mayor. Then I asked the governor the same question. And the first time I asked her, the tape kind of edged up here. The first time I asked her, she was like, gee, I don't know. And then I pressed her on it. Leadership, all the leadership never got in the same room with the players.
True. That is not true. I had them in my office on more than one occasion.
The Speaker, the
Yes.
Senate President,
Yes.
you, the
And
Paw
Larry,
Sox,
you know.
the mayor to put a deal together.
Yes, absolutely.
So you just said you didn't remember, and now I'm asking you
Said
again.
a number of times. I don't know if it was 1 or 2 or 5, but
The mayor just told me it never happened.
that isn't true. I specifically remember sitting at my desk. Anyway, that is not a fruitful discussion. Finger pointing is not where we need
I'm
to
just
be.
talking. I'm pointing to the leadership issue. Everybody's talking about the great leadership. I'm asking if all the leaders and all the players in this equation ever locked themselves together to try to get this deal done and get on the same page.
And I'm saying yes, we did.
Moving on. The debate issue. Governor Raimondo won't debate on the Democratic side, and Governor, well, gee, I don't know if that's Freudian, Mayor Fung decided that he was going to run to Woonsocket, all due respect to that great city, for a mini debate on a toy radio station. Patricia Morgan didn't like that idea.
Participate in any statewide debate that is either on TV or radio, because the voters deserve to hear where we stand as candidates before they vote for us.
And so, here we are, not only to discuss debates, but to discuss the issues. Patricia Morgan, the candidate, and how do I refer to this person?
Al the debate chicken.
Al the debate chicken, who doesn't debate.
Well, neither does the other Al.
When did the chicken strategy come into play?
When Alan Fung said he wouldn't debate. I mean, he's not even responding to invitations, and he must.
Well, it's funny, as we tape in the afternoon here at 1:42 in the afternoon, you are scheduled for a radio debate on WPRO at 5.
Yes.
Now you're watching this at 7:30 at midnight, so it's already happened. But do you think you'll make a last-minute show?
I don't, and I think people should really question that.
Well, you told me you were on another forum today as well, and you didn't.
Right, he was invited to come on Channel 6 with Joe Paolino, and he just didn't respond.
Didn't even RSVP.
Didn't even
Didn't even
say that he'd gotten the
send
invitation.
Joe a Dear Joe or Dear John letter.
Yeah, didn't send a chicken to sit in for him.
What's your theory on this?
Either my sense is that he doesn't have the capability, the ideas, the opinions that he wants to share with people. He'd rather be a blank slate.
You agree, chicken? All right, we'll get to the issues when we get back. Let me just say this before we break, though. You know, sometimes even I need to check myself and give myself a 5-yard penalty. When I say toy radio station in Woonsocket, I have deep respect for the Woonsocket radio owners. There's 2 radio stations there that have survived consolidation, you know, everything in the business, and they're still doing a terrific job for that community. I don't begrudge Alan Fung showing up to a debate amongst the candidates on a radio station in Woonsocket. They deserve more respect than a toy radio station reference. But my point is that this is a statewide race. And clearly there's an effort to say, hey, listen, I debated, and keep the damage, if there's going to be any, the exposure to a minimum. And that's the point about this. You know, Woonsocket should be included. But that they're not doing television, either Gina or Alan Fung in the primaries. They're not doing, radio of significant statewide stature. It's a problem. We'll come back and talk issues, probably without the chicken. Stay with us. Well, I thought we'd get rid of the chicken, but we still got the chicken thing going on. Listen, you're making your point. Everyone's got to have a sense of humor and a laugh, and I'm flummoxed over the idea that these leaders, alleged leaders of these primaries, are not debating. You wanted to make a point, though, about
Alan Fung, even beyond it being Woonsocket, and I agree with you. Even those listeners are important. So I'm willing to go to any forum, and there are 5 other statewide forums that I am going to appear in. But Alan Fung chose noon on the Friday before Labor Day weekend to have that one appearance that he's willing to have. I mean, it's disingenuous for him to say he's actually having a debate. He's hiding. He's hiding from the voters, and he shouldn't be trusted.
Why do you think he's hiding?
I think
Listen, I don't dispute you. I think this is a strategy. I think he has polling data that he thinks keeps him, wide enough that he doesn't have to lay down any real major policy or principles. Because it's tough to navigate a primary and then run in a general in Rhode Island. Perhaps his consultants are saying, do everything you can just to try to squeak through. Yeah,
our polling data doesn't confirm that. I'm close to winning. I think he is afraid to show how devoid of opinions and solutions he is. I've been with him in all these Republican Town Committee forums, and he goes back to the same talking points over and over and over again. And all he talks about is Cranston. He doesn't have exposure statewide. He doesn't have solutions for the state. He's afraid to show it.
All right, so let's talk about you. Key voter notes that people should be taking about you come this primary.
So I'm just the opposite. For the last 8 years, I've been in the State House, and it is a front row seat to dysfunction. I've been on the Finance Committee. I've been in the hearings. I know what parts of government are broken, which is a lot of them, but I have solutions, and I have the backbone. You've been there, you've watched me. I'm willing to fight the right fights, the important fights, to make sure we make Rhode Island strong, healthy, prosperous again.
Yeah, Patricia says, way back, I always get a kick out of the first radio debate. Remember in West Warwick when you were running for office against
Bill Murphy, the Speaker.
And all the Democratic fellows were there, beer in hand.
Oh, they emptied the State House to come.
And you just sat there, really kind of a lone wolf, maybe a friend or two, but you were in there battling all by yourself. And I thought, I don't know what this woman has in terms of policy and position and all that, but she's got a stomach of steel. And I've always respected you for that. How many fights have you and I had about issues? But you'll stick your head out. And I don't think you're right about a bunch of things, but you'll stick your head out. So tell me about the things I know you and I agree about first. This Roadworks project. If you're governor, at the toll proposal, what will happen?
The toll proposal, I'll stop them. DOT, by the way, there's a misconception that DOT doesn't have enough money. They get $590 million a year, and that's going to continue to grow from the gas tax. The Democrats index gas tax to inflation, so that goes up every single year. So DOT has plenty of money. We spend the highest of any state in New England maintaining our roads per mile. They've got plenty of money. They waste it. And this thing that's happening out on 195 now is just a symptom of a dysfunctional department.
Well, I will tell you, just not to pad your story, but today I was standing right in front of the governor when Steve Klampkin from WPRO. I'll grab this audio tomorrow and it'll remind me of this, because Klampkin says, are you thinking about stopping or slowing down this 195 project? And she just went like this. She went, no.
Yeah, somebody didn't tell her.
She's not aware that half the state's backed up to Seekonk and worse in rush hours, and worse, Swansea, the Cardi's exit. I mean, that kind of a thing. There are lifestyle changes that people are going to have to make over a year and a half's period of time.
Lifestyle changes, but also commerce. There are trucks. We're talking about trucks. Trucks delivering supplies, shipping goods. They can't spend an hour, hour and a half getting across the bridge.
I don't know because, you know, I did stay at Holiday Inn Express last night, but I'm not a highway engineer. So I don't know what the answer is. I mean, listen, a bridge has got to be fixed. So, you know, it's easy to take shots at the incumbent administration, but it seems to me that you got to go around the clock, you got to expedite, you got to promise a shorter term. Maybe you've got to find a way to move the Jersey barriers and borrow a lane from the other side at times. I don't know, but it seems as if they didn't know. And would you get the exits done first, maybe, before you do this? Because up and down, anyway, it's your show.
No,
I just,
honestly,
it's like, what?
I've thought of all those same things. Why didn't they do it in pieces? Why aren't they working round the clock?
You know, I went home 6:30 last night from the radio show. There was nobody working on that project.
Yeah. To tell people that they're going to have to suffer with this for a year and a half, it's just not acceptable. Find alternate routes. Well, if they find alternate routes, those routes aren't designed to take that kind of traffic either. So it'll just be a snarl everywhere. All
right, listen, let me show you, Jess, if you will, show me the headline where Patricia, in the last couple of days, got some attention for using her own dough to make a point. You've been on this Google settlement thing. The Google settlement, by the way, is a major league, multi-$100 million settlement. Rhode Island and a couple of other...
$230 million is what Rhode Island got.
Rhode Island got $230 million, but this is a multi-state Google settlement. And the settlement, without getting into all the details, is required really to be spent on law enforcement.
Yes.
Or security or safety or any of those
Public safety,
those kinds of things. You've been trying to get what? Access to the records.
Yes.
For the purpose of doing what?
It started out, it was right after the Parkland shooting, and I realized that we had this pot of money that we could use to secure the schools, to buy security upgrades. I'd actually heard that North Providence had bought some technology to help first responders should something happen. So I thought, great, $23 million, 306 schools, every school could get $75,000 to upgrade security measures. That will give peace of mind to children, to families, to teachers, all good. So I actually asked the Attorney General how much money was remaining, and I couldn't get a straight answer from him. I could not get a straight answer. This goes to transparency and accountability in government. There has been no oversight of this money, none. They say, well, the DOJ, the Department of Justice, is overlooking it. The Department of Justice isn't paying that close of attention, I'm sure.
Well, any use of the money would have to be approved by the Department of Justice.
They do, but are they really picking it apart? We don't know the RFPs, the needs assessment. I mean, I'm sure you've talked about the background check building. It's big. You don't need a building.
Well, here's the thing. I support your effort to get the information and to get the files and to find out exactly what the monies are. I'm not sure you ought to be promising that money for that purpose until you know exactly what's going on. That was my only criticism of you.
Yeah, and honestly, I still don't know how much is left. They've actually given me some documents, what they're willing to share, and there's a whole lot of utility bills. I mean, he's paying electric, phone, gas, those kinds of bills, water bills from the Google settlement funds. A lot of money.
Whose bills?
And it's not supposed to be used for operating costs.
Whose bills?
For all the buildings that he's been building. So the one out at
so for the
BCI
State
building,
Attorney General functions.
For the 180 building, he's
and House Oversight hasn't asked him about that at all?
There has been no oversight of the spending, none. And when I asked for the documents, clearly wasn't willing to share them. In fact, has fought me about getting those documents.
So the $3,700 you spent represents the the
200 hours of a clerk who's going to go and retrieve all the documents and copy them and get them to me.
Yeah,
that's the fee,
well,
and that fee is to discourage people because it hurt
well, win or
to
lose
give
the,
that kind of money.
Win or lose the election, I think this is something that ought to get some journalistic support, because I think we really should be doing an overview, an underview, and a side view as to how that money's being spent. Final few thoughts for the primary for the Patricia Morgan campaign when we come back. Stay with us.
Could give you more.
All right, now listen, I'm doing a little protest thing here on the radio weekdays 3 to 6. Those who want to debate are getting some airtime. Sometimes it's a couple minutes, sometimes it's 10. So stay tuned for more Patricia's thoughts up till September primary. But this may be the last time you're on the TV here on this show, so you got a couple minutes. Lay out your sales program. What is it that you want the voters to know?
You know, I do have a really thorough blueprint for a better Rhode Island on my website, and I've detailed ways to really ignite our economy. I think the governor has been using corporate welfare, where we're buying jobs from out of state companies, to get headlines, but we're not really doing the hard work of making our economy strong again. I have a really detailed plan for that. I mean, you know me. You've known me for a long time. I use data to make decisions. I just don't try to take care of my friends. I don't use a lot of, I'm always aware that people are giving us their money out of their own paychecks, out of their own wallets, and we have to be good stewards of that. They're also depending on government to really do the things that make our economy strong again, and we're not doing it. I've been there for 8 years. It is a front row seat to dysfunction, and I mean that. For every good thing we do another 3 or 4 bad things that are just weighing down our economy. Meanwhile, all the state leaders are saying, oh, but I've got laser vision on making our economy stronger. It's just not true. It's just not true. They've got laser vision on something other than working folks. I've been a working person. I've worked really hard, and I've gotten to the end of every month not knowing if I could pay all my bills. So I understand the struggles of average families, and I'm not going to lose track of them. So I have put together a plan that really deals with economic development, not just building hotels and apartments, but actually helping all companies in Rhode Island thrive. I want to be the small business governor. I want to cut the red tape. I want to make it easy for them to start companies here. I want our tax structure to be good for individuals and for companies as well. And I really want to help education, because I'm a special education teacher. I know every child can learn, and every child deserves the right to maximize their potential. So I think we've never had a governor that's been a teacher, but education, learning is a foundation for our economy, and I'll make it strong again.
All right, there you go. Patricia Morgan, Republican, running for governor, giving up her seat to do so. High-risk political behavior. Good luck.
All right.
Final word when we come back. No chicken, though. No chicken.
No chicken?
No. So tomorrow night, the Pawtucket Mayor, Don Grebian, is scheduled to be here. Listen, I think if you followed any of the work that I've done over the years, I don't do a lot of back-patting of elected officials unless they deserve it. But when they do, I will. And this guy did everything he could. Everything he could. Our goal tomorrow night is to see if we can get some insight as to the stuff that we probably don't know about, as to how this deal went south. So we'll talk to the mayor about that tomorrow night. And I'll see you on the radio at 3 on WPRO. Headed to Chick-fil-A. I'm hungry. I got a craving. I don't know why. See ya.